The sky above Taesong 7 burned red and orange as ships tore through the atmosphere. Doyen pressed his back against the cold metal wall and tried to catch his breath. His hands were shaking. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. He could hear screaming in the distance and the sound of buildings collapsing. Everything had been normal just 3 hours ago. Doyen had been working in the engineering bay, fixing a water recycler for Sector 9. The colony was small, maybe 15,000 people. They grew food, mined minerals, and sent everything back to Earth. It was boring work, but it was honest. Doyen liked boring. Then the alarms started. At first, people thought it was a drill. The military ran drills every few months to keep everyone ready. But this time, the soldiers looked scared. They were running, shouting orders, pushing civilians toward the tunnels. The ships came from nowhere. Huge black things that looked like they were made of bones and metal twisted together. They hung in the sky for just a moment before the bombing started. Doyen saw the administration building turn into fire and dust. He saw the school where children learned turn into a crater. He saw people running and then not running anymore. A soldier had grabbed his arm and shoved him toward the underground tunnels. Thousands of people were pushing and shoving, trying to get to safety. Doyen got separated from the main group. When part of the tunnel ceiling collapsed, dust filled the air. When it cleared, he was alone in a side passage with 4 other people. They tried to find another way out. They walked through dark corridors for an hour, using their portable lights to see. One by one, the other survivors disappeared. Doyen heard them scream, but could not find them in the darkness. Something was hunting them, something fast and quiet. Now Doyen was in what used to be a habitation dome. The roof was half gone, showing the burning sky above. Bodies lay everywhere. He recognized some of them. There was Mr. Park, who ran the noodle shop. There was Yunji, who worked at the library. Their faces were frozen in terror. A sound behind him made Doyen spin around. 3 creatures stepped out of the smoke. They were tall, maybe 7 feet high, with too many arms and legs that bent the wrong way. Their heads were smooth and featureless except for a cluster of eyes that glowed yellow. Black armor covered their bodies, but it looked alive, like it was breathing. Doyen had heard about the Vreth from news reports. They were a hive species that absorbed other minds into their collective. Once they took your brain, you became part of them forever. Earth had been fighting them on the outer colonies for 2 years, but no one thought they would come here. Taesong 7 was too small, too unimportant. The Vreth moved toward him. Doyen looked around frantically for a weapon. He grabbed a piece of broken metal from the ground and held it in front of him like a sword. His hands shook so hard he almost dropped it. The creatures did not rush him. They moved slowly, almost carefully, like they were studying him. One of them made a clicking sound. The others responded with their own clicks. They were communicating. Doyen backed away until his shoulders hit a wall. There was nowhere left to run. The Vreth spread out, surrounding him from 3 sides. He could smell them now, a mix of rot and chemicals that made his eyes water. The first one lunged. Doyen swung the metal bar with all his strength. It connected with the creature's head and made a sound like breaking glass. The Vreth stumbled but did not fall. The other 2 attacked from the sides. Pain exploded in Doyen's shoulder as something sharp stabbed through his jacket and into his flesh. He screamed and tried to pull away, but the Vreth held him tight. He felt something cold spreading through his body from the wound. The creature had injected him with something. His legs stopped working. Doyen collapsed to the ground, still conscious but unable to move. The Vreth stood over him, their yellow eyes watching as he tried to breathe. His chest felt heavy. His heart was beating too fast and too slow at the same time. One of the creatures knelt beside him. It reached out with a limb that split open at the end, revealing something that looked like a mix between a needle and a living worm. This was how they did it. This was how they took your mind. Doyen tried to scream, but no sound came out. The parasite moved closer to his face. He could see it pulsing, eager to burrow into his skull. His vision started to go dark around the edges. He was dying. The poison was shutting down his body piece by piece. A flash of light cut through the smoke. The Vreth holding Doyen suddenly had a spear sticking through its chest. It made a horrible shrieking sound and collapsed. The other 2 creatures spun around, searching for the attacker. Through his fading vision, Doyen saw a woman. She wore armor that looked ancient, like something from a museum about old Korea. Bronze and leather mixed with materials that glowed with soft blue light. Her face was young, but her eyes looked old, like she had seen too much. In her hands was a spear. It was simple in design, Just a straight shaft with a blade at the end, but it shone with light that seemed to come from inside the metal itself. The weapon hummed, a sound Doyen could feel in his bones. The woman moved like water, fast and smooth. She ducked under a Vreth's attack and drove her spear up through its throat. Before the creature hit the ground, she had already pulled the weapon free and spun to face the third one. This Vreth was smarter. It did not attack directly. Instead, it made a high-pitched sound calling for help. The woman did not give it time. She threw the spear. It flew straight and true, punching through the creature's head and pinning it to the wall behind. The woman walked to the wall and pulled her spear free. The Vreth slid to the ground, dead. She turned and walked to Doyen. He could barely see her now. Everything was going dark. His heart was barely beating. He could feel death coming for him. The woman knelt beside him. Up close, he could see tears in her eyes. "I am sorry," she whispered. Her voice was soft and sad. "This is the only way." She held the spear over him. "Touch my spear and live." Doyen did not understand, but his hand moved on its own. His fingers touched the glowing metal. Heat rushed through him, burning away the poison, restarting his heart, filling his lungs with air. The pain disappeared. Strength returned to his limbs. But as life flowed into Doyen, he watched the woman's face change. The color drained from her cheeks. The light faded from her eyes. She gasped once and fell forward. Doyen caught her. "What happened?" he asked, his voice rough. "What did you do?" The woman smiled, but it was weak. "Life for life," she whispered. "The spear always demands payment. I gave mine so you could live." "Why?" Doyen held her as she died in his arms. "You don't even know me." "Because you will need it," she said. Her voice was getting quieter. "7 spears, find them. Save humanity." Her eyes closed. "My name was Hana, remember me." Then she was gone. The weight of her body in his arms felt impossibly heavy. Doyen looked at the spear lying on the ground beside them. It no longer glowed. It looked like ordinary metal now, but when he touched it, voices filled his head, thousands of them, speaking in languages he did not know, showing him images of battles fought across centuries. And among all those voices, he heard Hana speaking clearly. "I am sorry, Doyen, but now the burden is yours." Doyen sat in the ruins holding a dead woman and trying to understand what had just happened. His body felt different, stronger. He could hear things he should not be able to hear, like footsteps half a mile away and the sound of ships moving in orbit above the planet. When he looked at the broken buildings around him, he could see heat patterns showing where people were hiding. The spear lay across his lap. It looked plain now, just dark metal with a sharp point, but he could feel it humming like it was alive and waiting. When he picked it up, knowledge flooded his mind. Not words exactly, but understanding. He knew how to hold the weapon, how to move with it, how to fight with it. Hana's voice spoke in his thoughts, but it was not like hearing someone talk. It was more like remembering something she had told him long ago, even though they had just met. The spear is called Eternal Witness. It has been passed down for 10,000 years. Each bearer must die to give it to the next. "I am the last of the spear bearers, but now you carry on." "I don't want this," Doyen said out loud, even though Hana was dead. "I'm just an engineer. I fix water pumps and air filters. I'm not a soldier." But Hana's memories showed him the truth. The spear bearers were not born as warriors. They were chosen. Farmers, teachers, merchants, workers. Ordinary people who became extraordinary when they accepted the burden. The spears found those with the right spirit, not the right training. An explosion nearby brought Doyen back to reality. The Vreth were still attacking the colony. People were still dying. He looked down at Hana's body. She had given everything to save him. He could not waste that gift. Doyen gently laid her body on the ground and stood up. The spear felt light in his hands, perfectly balanced. He started walking toward the sounds of fighting. Part of him was terrified. Part of him felt calm and ready. He found the Vreth 3 blocks away. There were at least 20 of them, tearing through a barricade where survivors were making a last stand. Doyen saw human soldiers firing their rifles, but the bullets just bounced off the Vreth's living armor. The creatures were slowly pushing forward, killing anyone who got close. Behind the barricade, Doyen could see civilians huddled together. Maybe 30 people. Some were wounded. All of them looked terrified. A woman in military armor was shouting orders, trying to organize a retreat, but there was nowhere left to run. Doyen took a deep breath and started running toward the Vreth. It was stupid, suicidal, but his body moved with confidence. like it had done this 1,000 times before. The spear showed him where to step, how to move, when to strike. The first breath never saw him coming. Doyen's spear went through its back and out its chest. The creature screamed and fell. Before the others could react, Doyen had already moved to the next one. He was not thinking anymore. His body just acted, flowing from one motion to the next. Thrust, turn, block, strike. The spear was an extension of his arms. When a Vreth tried to grab him, he was already gone, sliding past it and opening its throat. When three attacked at once, he used their own momentum against them, redirecting their attacks into each other. It was not perfect. He was clumsy compared to what the spear's memories showed him. He made mistakes that a true master would never make. But he was fast enough and strong enough that it did not matter. One by one, the Vreth fell. The last creature tried to run. Doyen threw the spear. It flew straight and caught the Vreth between its shoulder blades, pinning it to a wall. The creature twitched once and went still. Silence fell over the street. Doyen walked to the wall and pulled his spear free. His hands were covered in black blood. His whole body was shaking from adrenaline. Now that the fight was over, the fear came rushing back. "Who are you?" The woman in military armor stepped forward, her rifle still raised but not pointing at him. She had sergeant stripes on her shoulder. Her name tag said Nari. "Doyen, I'm an engineer from Sector 9. He realized how crazy that sounded. "I know this looks strange. Nari lowered her rifle and stared at him. "You just killed 20 Vreth with a spear. Alone. Our whole battalion couldn't do that with rifles and explosives." She looked at the weapon in his hands. "What is that thing?" "It's complicated." Doyen did not know how to explain. "Someone gave it to me. She died so I could use it." A man in civilian clothes pushed through the survivors. He was thin with glasses and looked like he spent most of his time indoors. "I'm Minho, I'm a xenobiologist." He stared at the dead Vreth with scientific interest. "These wounds are incredible. The spear cut through their armor like it wasn't even there. That shouldn't be possible. Their armor is a biological composite that's harder than steel." "We need to move," Nari said. She was already organizing the survivors, checking who was wounded, who could walk. "The Vreth will send more." "They always do," Doyen agreed. "There are tunnels under the colony. We can use them to reach the spaceport. Maybe there are still ships there." They moved through the ruins as a group. Doyen led the way with Nari at his side. The other survivors followed behind, helping the wounded walk. Minho kept asking questions about the spear, but Doyen did not have good answers. Inside his mind, Hana's voice spoke again. "You did well for your first real battle, but this is only the beginning. The Vreth are not your true enemy. They are running from something worse. What could be worse than this?" Doyen thought back at her. "The thing that made the spears necessary. The reason my order existed for 10,000 years." Hana's memories showed him images of stars going dark, of entire worlds disappearing, of something vast and incomprehensible moving through space. "There are 7 spears total. Each one is hidden somewhere in human space. You must find them and unite them, or humanity will not survive the year." "How am I supposed to find them? I don't even know where to start." "I will guide you. My memories contain the locations, but first you must survive today." They reached a tunnel entrance that led underground. Nari's team worked to clear the debris blocking the door. While they worked, Minho pulled Doyen aside. "I need to tell you something," Minho said quietly. "I've been studying the Vreth for 2 years. The way they're acting here doesn't make sense. They usually take their time, study their targets, then attack strategically. But this invasion was rushed, desperate." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying they're not here to conquer. They're here to escape. Something is chasing them." Minho looked up at the burning sky. "And if the Vreth are scared enough to risk attacking a human colony without planning, whatever is chasing them must be truly terrifying." A rumbling sound made everyone freeze. In the distance, more Vreth ships were descending. Hundreds of them. The sky turned black with their numbers. "Inside now," Nari shouted. The survivors rushed into the tunnel. Doyen was the last one in, holding the door as others passed. Just before he went through, he saw something that made his blood turn cold. The Vreth ships were not attacking the colony anymore. They were running. All of them. They were fleeing into deep space as fast as their engines could carry them. And in the sky where they had been, reality itself seemed to twist. A section of stars simply stopped existing. The empty space spread outward like a hole being torn in paper. Through that hole, Doyen thought he saw something massive and impossible, something that his mind could not fully understand. Then the hole closed. The stars returned, but Doyen knew what he had seen. Hana's memories confirmed it. The recursion. Her voice whispered in his mind. It has begun. Doyen pulled the door closed and sealed it behind him. The survivors were already moving deeper into the tunnels, their lights bobbing in the darkness. He followed them, but his mind was racing. 7 spears to find, an ancient enemy awakening. And he was just an engineer who had been given a weapon he barely understood. Nari fell into step beside him. You look like you've seen a ghost. Several ghosts, Doyen said. And they're all trying to tell me the same thing. We're running out of time. Time for what? To save humanity. He said it simply, like he was talking about fixing a water pump. I know how that sounds, but I think it might actually be true. Nari studied his face in the dim light. She must have seen something there that convinced her because she nodded. Then we better not waste any more time. Where do we start? First we get off this planet, Doyen said. Then I'll explain everything. It's going to sound completely insane. Everything about today is insane, Nari replied. At this point I'll believe anything. They walked into the darkness together, following the other survivors. Behind them the colony burned. Ahead of them lay an impossible task, but Doyen felt Hana's presence in his mind, guiding him, teaching him. He was not alone, and somehow that made all the difference. 3 weeks in space felt like 3 years. The freighter they had escaped on was old and barely functional. It smelled like oil and rust. The life support systems made strange noises that kept everyone awake at night. But it was flying, and that was all that mattered. Doyen stood in the cargo bay, practicing with the spear. Nari watched from the doorway, arms crossed. She had been teaching him basic combat tactics, though she admitted the way he moved with the spear was beyond anything she had learned in military training. You're getting better, Nari said. Your footwork is smoother, but you still telegraph your strikes too much. A trained opponent would see them coming. Doyen lowered the spear and wiped sweat from his face. Hana's memories show me what to do, but my body can't always keep up. It's frustrating. You've had the spear for 3 weeks. Hana probably trained her whole life. Nari walked into the bay. You're doing fine. Better than fine, actually. You saved 37 people back on Taesong 7. Don't forget that. The memory made Doyen feel heavy. They had saved 37, but 15,000 had died. The whole colony was gone. Sometimes he woke up at night hearing the screams. Minho's voice came over the ship's intercom. Doyen, you should come to the bridge. We're approaching Biel Station. The bridge was cramped and cluttered with old equipment. Minho sat at the navigation console, his fingers dancing over displays covered in data. Through the main window, Doyen could see Biel Station growing larger. The station was huge, a rotating wheel maybe 5 miles across. Thousands of ships docked at its ports. Lights sparkled across its surface like stars. Biel Station was neutral ground, a trading hub where all species could meet peacefully. It was also home to 2 million people. This is where the second spear is hidden? Nari asked. She had joined them on the bridge. According to Hana's memories, yes. Doyen closed his eyes and let the memories flow. It's in a vault beneath the central market. A corporation called Hansong Industries has been digging up old artifacts from before humans left Earth. They don't know what they found. How do we get it? Minho asked. We can't just walk in and take it. We need to find the second bearer first. Doyen explained what Hana had taught him. Each spear calls to someone specific, someone with the right bloodline. I need to get close to identify them. Docking at Biel Station took 2 hours. They had to go through security checks and customs. The station authorities were nervous. News of the attack on Taesong 7 had spread. Everyone was talking about the Vreth and whether they would attack other colonies. The central market was overwhelming. Thousands of people from dozens of species moved through corridors lined with shops and stalls. The air smelled like spices and ozone. Holographic advertisements floated everywhere, shouting in different languages. Doyen carried the spear wrapped in cloth, trying to look like a merchant with cargo. Nari and Minho followed close behind. They made their way toward the corporate sector where Hanseong Industries had their offices. That was when Doyen felt it. A pull, like someone tugging on a string connected to his heart. The spear hummed in his hands, resonating with something nearby. "She's here," he whispered. "The second bearer. I can feel her." They followed the feeling to a security checkpoint. A woman in corporate security armor stood guard at a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." She was checking identification, letting some people through and turning others away. The woman looked young, maybe mid-20s. Her name badge said Jiwon. She had sharp eyes that missed nothing and moved with the relaxed confidence of someone trained in combat. But there was something else about her, something that made Doyen's spear vibrate with recognition. "That's her," Doyen said. "Jiwon, she's the one. How do we approach her?" Minho asked. "We can't just tell her she's supposed to carry a magic spear." Before they could make a plan, alarms started blaring throughout the station. People started screaming and running. Doyun turned and saw something impossible. Vreth warriors were pouring out of a docked ship, dozens of them moving through the market and killing anyone in their path. But these Vreth looked different. They moved erratically, like they were injured or sick. Some of them were missing limbs. Others had armor that was cracked and broken. "They followed us," Nari said, pulling out a pistol she had hidden under her jacket. "They tracked the spear." "No," Minho said, staring at his portable scanner. "Look at them. They're not hunting. They're desperate. These are refugees." He was right. The Vreth were not attacking systematically. They were panicking, lashing out at anything that moved. It was like watching animals fleeing a forest fire, too scared to think clearly. Doyun unwrapped his spear. "We need to stop them before they kill everyone here." He ran toward the Vreth. Behind him, he heard Nari curse and follow. The first creature he reached was easy to kill. It was so focused on breaking through a shop door that it never saw him coming. His spear went through its back and it collapsed, but there were too many. For every one he killed, 2 more appeared. Station security was responding, but their weapons barely hurt the Vreth. People were dying in the crossfire. A section of the market exploded. Doyen was thrown backward by the blast. His ears rang. Through the smoke, he saw more Vreth climbing through the hole in the station's hull. How many had come? Then he saw Jiwon. She had left her post and was protecting a group of civilians, using her stun baton to keep Vreth at bay. She fought well, but she was outnumbered. 3 Vreth surrounded her, clicking to each other as they coordinated their attack. Doyen ran to help her. He killed 1 Vreth from behind, then spun to face the other 2. Jiwon stared at him in shock, her eyes going to the glowing spear in his hands. "Get these people to safety," Doyen shouted at her. "I'll hold them off." "Are you insane?" Jiwon shouted back. "There are at least 50 of them." "I know. That's why I need your help." Doyen threw the spear to her. "Catch!" She caught it instinctively. The moment her fingers touched the metal, everything changed. The spear exploded with blue light. Jiwon gasped as power rushed through her body. Her eyes went wide with understanding and terror. "What did you do to me?" she demanded. "I gave you a choice," Doyen said. He pulled out a knife from his belt. It was just a regular blade, useless against Vreth, but it was better than nothing. "You can feel it, can't you? The spear knows you. You're the one it's been waiting for." Jiwon looked down at the weapon in her hands. Doyen could see her mind racing, trying to understand. Then more Vreth came around the corner and there was no more time for questions. She moved without thinking. The spear guided her just like it had guided Doyen. She was faster than him, more natural. Where Doyen had to think about each strike, Jiwon just flowed. The spear became a blur of light and death in her hands. Together, they fought back the Vreth. Nari joined them with her pistol, picking off targets from a distance. Minho helped evacuate, civilians herding them toward emergency escape pods. The station's security forces finally organized a proper defense, creating a perimeter with heavy weapons. It took an hour, but eventually, the last Vreth fell. The market was destroyed. Bodies lay everywhere, human and alien mixed together. Fires burned in a dozen locations. The station's automated systems were fighting to seal hull breaches and restore atmosphere. Do-yoon found Ji-won sitting against a wall, still holding the spear. She was covered in black blood but appeared unhurt. When she saw him approaching, she tried to stand, but her legs gave out. "What's happening to me?" she asked. Her voice was weak. "I feel strange. Tired." Do-yoon's heart sank. He recognized the symptoms. "You use the spear without accepting it properly. It's draining your life force." "What do you mean?" "The spears have rules. They bond to specific people, but that bond requires sacrifice." He knelt beside her. "When someone uses a spear without completing the bond, it takes their life energy as payment. You're dying, Ji-won." Fear flashed across her face. "How long do I have?" "Days. Maybe a week." Do-yoon took the spear from her gently. The moment he touched it, he felt two voices in his mind now. Hana was still there, but there was a second presence, another ancient warrior, the one who had carried the spear before. "There's a way to save you," Do-yoon said. "You can complete the bond. Accept the spear fully, and it will heal you. But there's a cost." "What cost?" "Eventually, you'll have to pass it on, like Hana passed hers to me. Life for life. That's how the spears work." Ji-won looked at the weapon in Do-yoon's hands. Then she looked at the bodies scattered around the market. Hundreds of people had died today. She had saved dozens more. "If I don't accept it, I die anyway?" she asked. "Yes. And if I do accept it, I can help stop this. Stop the Vreth and whatever is chasing them." "I believe so. But I can't promise anything." Ji-won laughed bitterly. "Some choice." She held out her hand. "Give it back. I'll take the spear." "If I'm going to die either way, I might as well make it count for something." Do-yoon handed her the spear. This time, when she touched it, the light was gentler. It wrapped around her like a blanket instead of hitting her like a hammer. Color returned to her cheeks. Strength flowed back into her limbs. "I can hear them," she whispered. "So many voices, so many warriors who came before." "Welcome to the spear bearers," Do-yoon said. "Your weapon is called Silent Storm." Ji-won stood up, testing her renewed strength. "You said there are 7 spears total?" "Yes." "Then we better find the rest quickly. Because if what I'm seeing in these memory, the ship drifted through dead space where no stars shone. They had disabled most of the systems to avoid detection. The Vreth were still hunting, though not as aggressively as before. Something else was hunting too, something that made even the Vreth afraid." Do-yoon sat in the cargo bay with Ji-won. Both of them held their spears. In the dim emergency lighting, the weapons glowed softly, creating shadows that danced on the walls. "Can you hear them too?" Ji-won asked. "The voices?" "Yes, Hana speaks to me most clearly, but there are others behind her. Hundreds of warriors going back thousands of years. Mine is named Somin. She was a spear bearer 3,000 years ago. She keeps showing me battles I don't understand. Wars against things that don't look like any species I know. We need to understand what these spears really are," Do-yoon said. "Hana told me pieces of the truth, but not everything. I think she's waiting for the right moment to explain." As if responding to his thoughts, both spears began to glow brighter. The temperature in the room dropped. Do-yoon felt a presence in his mind stronger than before. Not just Hana now, but Somin too and others. The ancient bearers were gathering. Images flooded Do-yoon's consciousness. He saw Earth as it was 10,000 years ago. Primitive humans living in small tribes, barely surviving. Then he saw them arrive, the architects. They were not like any living species. They appeared as geometric patterns of light and energy, shapes that hurt to look at directly because human eyes were not meant to perceive them. They had come to Earth with a purpose. We were not the first, Hana's voice spoke clearly in his mind. The architects visited hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. They were searching for species that could survive the recursion. "What is the recursion?" Do-yoon asked out loud. The images shifted. He saw the universe itself, vast and incomprehensible, but there was something wrong with it. Every few million years, a wave passed through space. Wherever it touched, advanced civilizations simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not conquered, they just ceased to be, as if they had never existed at all. The recursion is a universal constant. Soman's voice joined Hana's. It is not alive. It is not evil. It simply is. When civilizations become too advanced, when they begin to manipulate reality itself, the recursion removes them. It maintains balance. The architects studied this for eons, Hana continued. They learned that the recursion targeted species that developed certain technologies. Quantum manipulation, reality alteration, artificial dimensions. These things attracted the recursion like blood attracts sharks. So they created weapons to fight it? Jiwan asked. She was seeing the same visions. They tried. Every weapon failed. The recursion cannot be fought with force. It is like trying to punch gravity. So the architects changed their approach. Instead of fighting, they created a way to hide. The visions showed the creation of the spears. 7 weapons forged from materials that existed outside normal reality. Each one was designed to bond with a specific genetic lineage, creating bearers who could use the weapons without training. The spears contained the knowledge and skill of every previous bearer, passing down wisdom through generations. But why humans? Doyen asked. Why Earth? Because humans had something special, Hana said. You were stubborn, aggressive. You refused to die even when nature tried to kill you. The architects saw potential in your species. They hid 7 weapons across Earth and waited. They knew that one day humans would reach the stars. And when that happened, you would need these weapons. To hide from the recursion, Jiwan said. Yes, when all 7 spears are united, they can create a field that makes humanity invisible to the recursion. Your species can continue to exist, but you must remain limited. No quantum technology. No reality manipulation. Stay within the boundaries and you survive. Doyen felt sick. So humanity has to give up advancement. Stay primitive forever? Not primitive, Soman said. Just careful. You can travel the stars with slower ships. You can build great civilizations, but you cannot reach for godhood. That is the price of survival. The visions faded. The cargo bay lights returned to normal. Both Doyen and Jiwan sat in silence, processing what they had learned. Nari's voice came over the intercom, breaking the quiet. We have a problem. A United Governance Council warship just appeared on sensors. They're demanding we stop and prepare to be boarded. Doyen and Jiwan rushed to the bridge. Through the window, they could see the warship approaching. It was massive, bristling with weapons, a military vessel designed to fight the Vreth. They found us, Minho said. He looked nervous. Someone must have reported what happened at Bayol Station. The military knows about the spears. A face appeared on the communication screen, an older man in an admiral's uniform. His name badge identified him as Admiral Tajan. He had hard eyes and the bearing of someone used to being obeyed. This is Admiral Tajan of the UGC warship Righteous Fury. You are harboring alien artifacts of immense strategic value. Surrender them immediately and prepare to be taken into custody. We can't give them the spears, Jiwan whispered. The weapons won't work for them. The architects designed them to reject anyone without the proper bloodline. Doyen activated the communication system. Admiral Tajan, my name is Doyen. I understand your concern, but you don't understand what these weapons are or how they work. I understand that you have weapons capable of killing Vreth efficiently. That's all I need to know. Humanity is at war. These weapons could turn the tide. They're not weapons of war, Doyen said. They're survival tools. Using them incorrectly could doom humanity. I don't have time for mysticism, Tajan said coldly. You have 5 minutes to comply. After that, we will board your vessel by force. The communication cut off. Nari started running calculations. We can't outrun them. Their ship is 10 times faster than ours. And we can't fight them, Minho added. They have enough firepower to turn this freighter into dust. Jiwan stood up, her hand on Silent Storm. I won't let them take the spears. Too many people have died to protect these weapons. If the military tries to use them without understanding what they are, it could trigger the recursion early. Doyen made a decision. Prepare to jump. Plot a course for anywhere. Just get us away from here. Our jump drive is barely functional, Nari protested. If we try to use it, there's a 50% chance it explodes. Better than certain capture. Doyen looked at the warship growing larger in the window. Do it, Nari's fingers flew across the controls. The ship's engines began charging, making a sound like a dying animal. Warning lights flashed across every console. The whole vessel shook. The warship detected what they were doing. It accelerated, trying to close the distance before they could jump. Weapons charged, ready to disable their engines. Jump in 5 seconds, Nari counted down. 4-3-2. Something else appeared on their sensors. A ship, but not human and not Vrath. It was sleek and dangerous looking, painted in colors that seemed to shift when you looked at them directly. It positioned itself between the freighter and the warship. "Unknown vessel, move aside," Admiral Tajin's voice commanded. "This is a military operation." A new voice came over the communication system. It was female, confident, with an accent Doyun could not place. "This is Captain Wren of the independent vessel Shadow's Edge. Sorry, Admiral, but I can't let you take those spears." The warship tried to go around, but Wren's ship moved to block again. It was incredibly fast, making maneuvers that should have torn it apart. "Jump now," Wren shouted. "I'll keep them busy." 1, Nari finished her countdown. She hit the jump drive. Reality twisted. The stars stretched into lines. Doyen felt his stomach turn inside out. The ship groaned and shook like it was being torn apart. Alarm screamed. Then suddenly, it was over. They were in a different part of space. No warship. No Wren's vessel. Just empty space and distant stars. "Where are we?" Jiwan asked. Minho checked his instruments. "Halfway across the sector. The jump worked, though I don't know how." "Who was that woman?" Nari wondered. "Wren, why did she help us?" Before anyone could answer, their sensors detected another ship approaching. It was Wren's vessel. Somehow she had followed them through the jump. The communication system activated. Wren's face appeared on the screen. She was younger than Doyen expected. Maybe early 30s, with scars on her face and eyes that had seen too much. And in her hands she held a spear identical to Eternal Witness and Silent Storm. "Hello, fellow spear-bearers," she said with a tired smile. "We need to talk. I know where the 4th spear is hidden, but I also know what's coming. And trust me, the recursion is the least of our problems." She paused, her expression growing serious. The Admiral was right about one thing. Humanity is running out of time. But he was wrong about the solution. If we don't find all 7 spears in the next month, it won't matter. The galaxy itself is dying. Doyen looked at Jiwan, then at Nari and Minho. They had been searching for answers. Now they had found someone who seemed to have them. But could they trust her? "Come aboard," Doyun said finally. "Let's talk." "Smart choice," Wren replied. "Because I've been carrying this burden for 10 years, and I'm tired of carrying it alone." Her ship moved closer, preparing to dock. Doyen felt Hana's presence in his mind, but for once she offered no advice. Whatever came next, Haren's ship was nothing like their old freighter. Everything was clean and efficient. The walls were covered in weapons and equipment. Maps and star charts filled the screens. It looked like someone had been preparing for war. "I've been hunting the spears for 10 years, Wren explained as she led them to the meeting room. "Ever since I found Blood Oath on a dead world called Gwangju Station. The spear bonded to me the hard way. My entire crew died in the Vreth attack. I survived by accident." She sat down heavily, looking older than her years. "I thought the spear was just a weapon at first. Took me months to understand what it really was. By then I'd already made a lot of mistakes." Doyen noticed the scars on her arms. Each one looked deliberate, like tally marks. "What are those?" "Reminders," Wren said simply. "Every scar represents someone who died so I could keep the spear. The burden weighs heavy. You'll understand soon enough." Jiwan leaned forward. "You said you know where the 4th spear is?" "I do. It's on a dead world called Scylla's Rest. The architects had a base there, maybe their last one in this part of the galaxy. I've been there before, but couldn't enter the inner chambers. The doors only open for multiple spear-bearers. That's why I've been searching for others like me." "What's at Scylla's Rest?" Nari asked. "Answers. The full truth about what we're facing." Wren stood up and activated a holographic display. It showed a section of space with dozens of systems marked in red. "These are the sectors that have gone dark in the last year. No communications. No ships returning. Just silence." Minho studied the map with growing horror. "That's almost 50 star systems. Millions of people. They're not dead," Wren said. "They never existed. The recursion doesn't kill, it erases. It removes things from reality completely. In a few months, no one will remember those systems were ever inhabited." "How do you know this?" Doyen demanded. "Because Blood Oath showed me. The spear has memories from the last recursion cycle, 5 million years ago. I've seen what happens when civilizations fail to hide properly." She closed the hologram. "Earth discovered quantum fold technology 3 years ago. Started using it for faster-than-light travel. That's what triggered the recursion. We rang the dinner bell and invited the universe's janitor to clean us up. The room fell silent. Quantum fold drives had revolutionized space travel. Every ship used them now. Without that technology, it took years to travel between systems instead of days. So what do? Jiwan asked quietly. We go to Scylla's Rest. We learn everything the architects wanted us to know. Then we find the remaining 3 spears and unite all 7 before the recursion finishes erasing humanity. Ren said it like she was discussing a shopping list, but Doyen could see the fear in her eyes. They set course for Scylla's Rest immediately. The journey took 3 days through normal space. Ren explained that using quantum jumps would only attract more attention from the recursion. They had to travel slowly, carefully, like prey trying not to attract a predator. During the journey, Doyen trained with both Ren and Jiwan. Having 3 spear bearers together created a resonance effect. The weapons glowed brighter. The voices of past bearers became clearer. Doyen could feel the knowledge flowing more easily, like he was tapping into a vast library. Scylla's Rest appeared on their sensors as a gray sphere floating in empty space. It had no sun, no moons, no other planets nearby. It existed in isolation, preserved by architect technology. They landed near a massive structure that rose from the surface like a crystal mountain. The building was impossibly old but showed no signs of decay. Its walls shifted with colors that should not exist. This is it, Ren said. The architect archive. Everything they wanted humanity to know is stored inside. The 4 of them walked to the entrance. Nari and Minho stayed close even though they could not carry spears. When all 3 weapons came within range of the door, it opened silently, revealing a corridor filled with soft light. Inside, they found a chamber that defied logic. The room was larger than the building that contained it. The walls showed images of countless worlds, countless species, all struggling against the same threat. The recursion had claimed them all. At the center of the room stood a figure, or rather the ghost of a figure. An architect frozen in time or preserved somehow. When the spear bearers approached, it activated. Welcome, young ones. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. If you can hear this message, then you have found 3 spears. That is encouraging. But you need all 7 to survive. The architect's form solidified slightly. Doyen could see it more clearly now. It looked almost human, but made of light and geometry. My species created many weapons across many worlds. Most failed. Most species perished. You are among the last hopes. What is the recursion? Ren asked. Tell us everything. The recursion is the universe protecting itself. When species become advanced enough to manipulate quantum reality, they risk tearing holes in the fabric of existence. Small holes at first, but they grow. The recursion detects these holes and removes the species creating them before they can destroy everything. Images appeared showing civilizations ripping apart reality itself, creating paradoxes and impossibilities. The damage spread like cracks in glass, threatening to shatter the entire universe. We architects tried to fight the recursion once. We built weapons that could destroy galaxies. We created armies that spanned dimensions. We thought ourselves invincible. The figure's voice grew sad. We were wrong. The recursion adapted. It erased us. Only a few of us escaped by hiding in spaces between realities. Why help humanity? Jiwan asked. Because your species has something we lacked. You are adaptable in ways we were not. You can survive in terrible conditions. You refuse to give up even when logic says you should. The architects saw this quality and decided to give you a chance. Another image appeared. It showed 7 spears being hidden across Earth, buried deep where primitive humans would not find them for thousands of years. We designed the weapons to activate only when humanity reached the stars. By then, you would be advanced enough to understand the danger, but not so advanced that you could not change course. The spears can hide us from the recursion? Doyen asked. Yes. When united, the 7 spears create a field that masks your species' presence. The recursion will not perceive you, but there are conditions. You must abandon quantum technology. You must accept slower travel. You must limit your advancement. Minho stepped forward. For how long? Forever? Until the current recursion cycle ends. Approximately 1,000 years. During that time, your species can grow, explore, build civilizations. But you must stay within the boundaries. If you cross them again, the recursion will return and finish what it started. Where are the other spears? Ren demanded. We need to find them quickly. The architect gestured and a map appeared showing 4 locations. The 4th spear is here in this very archive. It waits for one named Juan, a seeker of knowledge. I know him, Minho said suddenly. I know Juan, he's an archaeologist. He's been studying architect ruins for years. I can contact him. The fifth spear is in Vreth-occupied space, the architect continued. A Vreth queen took it centuries ago. She failed to use it properly and her people paid the price. But the weapon still exists. The sixth is held by those who worship the recursion as a god. They believe erasure is salvation. They will not surrender it willingly. And the seventh? Doyen asked. The seventh is on Earth, buried beneath the Korean peninsula, sealed in bedrock by technology your species cannot break. Only when all 6 other spears are united can you reach it. The figure began to fade. Time grows short. The recursion has already begun erasing human systems. Find the spears. Unite them. Sacrifice what must be sacrificed. It is the only way. Wait, Ren called out. What sacrifice? What else haven't you told us? But the architect was gone. The chamber fell silent except for their breathing. A door opened on the far side of the room. Beyond it they could see another chamber. And in that chamber, standing perfectly still, was a man. He looked like he had been waiting for years. They approached carefully. The man turned to face them. He was thin, with tired eyes and hands stained with dirt from digging. He smiled when he saw them. You came, he said simply. I've been waiting. My name is Juan. At his feet lay the 4th spear. It was called Dawnbreaker and it glowed with golden light. When Juan picked it up, the weapon sang with joy at finding its bearer. I saw this in a vision 10 years ago, Juan said. I've been preparing ever since. I know what we must do. I know the cost. He looked at each of them. We need 3 more spears, and then we need to die. What do you mean, die? Nari demanded. The architects lied, Juan said gently. Or rather, they told an incomplete truth. The spears don't just create a shield. They become the shield. The 7 bearers must give their lives simultaneously to activate the protection. Our deaths will buy humanity 1,000 years of survival. Doyen felt cold. You're saying we have to sacrifice ourselves? Yes, all 7 of us. It's the only way. Juan's voice was calm, accepting. But first we need to find the others. And we need to move fast. The recursion is accelerating. Outside the archive, through the crystalline walls, they could see space itself beginning to twist. Stars were disappearing. Reality was being erased one piece at a time. They split into 3 teams. Time was too short to search together. Every day more systems went dark. Every hour the recursion erased more of humanity's presence from the universe. Doyen and Ren took the most dangerous mission. They had to enter Vreth-occupied space and find the 5th spear. The weapon was held by a Vreth queen named Velkris who ruled from a massive hive ship deep in enemy territory. This is suicide, Nari had argued before they left. You're flying into the heart of the enemy fleet. The Vreth are running too, Doyen reminded her. They're as scared of the recursion as we are. Maybe we can negotiate, Ren laughed bitterly. You can't negotiate with the Vreth, I've tried. They only understand strength and survival. But they went anyway, flying Ren's fast ship through space that was being actively erased. Twice they had to change course when entire sectors simply vanished, taking planets and stars with them. The recursion was not just removing humanity. It was cleaning up all advanced species in this part of the galaxy. They found the Vreth hive ship drifting near a dying star. It was enormous, maybe 10 miles long, covered in organic armor that pulsed like living tissue. Thousands of smaller ships surrounded it like insects around a corpse. We'll never get close without being destroyed, Ren said. Doyen had an idea. He activated the communication system and broadcast on all frequencies. I am Doyen, bearer of eternal witness. I seek an audience with Queen Velkris. I know she carries one of the 7 spears. I offer knowledge in exchange for the weapon. Silence for a long moment. Then a response came, but not in words. Images flooded directly into Doyen's mind. The Vreth could communicate telepathically. He saw invitation and curiosity mixed with hunger and desperation. They were allowed to dock. Vreth warriors escorted them through corridors that looked more like the inside of a living creature than a ship. Everything was wet and warm. The air smelled of chemicals and decay. Queen Velkris waited in a chamber at the ship's heart. She was massive, 3 times the size of a normal Vreth with armor that gleamed like black diamonds. But she looked old and tired. Parts of her armor were cracked. Some of her limbs did not move properly. In her main hand she held a spear, Voidsong. It was black as night with edges that seemed to cut through space itself. You are bold. Velkris spoke through their minds. Most humans flee from my kind. You fly directly to me. We don't have time for fear, Doyun said. The recursion is erasing everything. You know this. You've been running from it for months. Years, Velcris corrected. My species discovered quantum manipulation before yours. We triggered the recursion cycle first. We have been fleeing for 3 years while it consumed our homeworlds one by one. She gestured with the spear. I found this weapon on a dead architect world. I thought it would save us. But it rejected my people. It only responds to me because I have absorbed the minds of 100 different species. Somewhere in my collective consciousness is a genetic marker that matches what the architects were looking for. Give us the spear, Ren said. Let humanity use it properly. We can create a shield that will protect everyone, Vreth included. Velcris's laugh echoed in their minds. Lies, the spears only protect their makers. If humans activate the shield, my kind will still be erased. Then help us, Doyen pleaded. Come with us. Be one of the 7 bearers. When we sacrifice ourselves, maybe the shield will include the Vreth too. Sacrifice? Velcris leaned forward. Tell me everything. Doyen explained what Juan had revealed. The 7 bearers must die simultaneously to activate the protection. Their lives would become the shield, buying time for humanity to survive. Velcris was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her mental voice was softer. My species has already failed. We refused to abandon our technology. We tried to fight the recursion with force. We lost everything. Billions of my kind are gone, erased as if they never existed. Only a few hive ships remain and we are being hunted. She stood slowly, her old body creaking. If my death can save even one species from the fate mine suffered, then it is a worthy death. I will give you Void Song. I will be your 5th bearer. She extended the spear to Doyen. But when he took it, her huge body began to collapse. Using the weapon for years without proper bonding had been killing her slowly. Now that she surrendered it, the damage caught up all at once. Go. Velcris's voice weakened. Find the others. Finish this. Do not fail like we did. She died in her throne, surrounded by her kind. The Vreth warriors did not attack. Instead, they bowed to Doyun and Ren, acknowledging the queen's final sacrifice. Meanwhile, Jiwon and Nari had tracked the 6th spear to a small moon orbiting a gas giant. A group calling themselves the Final Piece lived there. They were humans who had lost hope, who believed the recursion was a blessing rather than a threat. They think erasure is salvation, Jiwon said as they approached the moon. They worship the end of existence. The compound was heavily fortified. Armed believers patrolled the walls. When Jiwon and Nari tried to land, they were met with weapons fire. We just want to talk, Nari shouted over the communication system. We need the spear you're guarding. The Mercy's end is not for the living, a voice responded. It is for those ready to embrace the end. Leave, or we will send you to the embrace you are not ready for. They had no choice but to fight. Nari led the assault with her military training, while Jiwon used Silent Storm to break through the compound's defenses. The battle was brutal. The believers fought with the fervor of people who had already accepted death. In the center of the compound, they found the leader. An old man named Kyung who held Mercy's end like a holy relic. He smiled peacefully when Jiwon approached. You don't understand, Kyung said. The recursion is beautiful. It removes suffering. It ends pain. Why would anyone fight against that? Because living matters, Jiwon said. Even when life is hard, even when there's suffering, we still have hope. We still have love and joy and meaning. Temporary things, Kyung dismissed. In the end, nothing matters. We all disappear. Then let us disappear on our own terms. Jiwon held out her hand. Give me the spear. Let me choose how to use it. Kyung studied her face for a long time. Then surprisingly, he handed over Mercy's end. You will learn, he said softly. When the time comes to sacrifice yourself, you will understand. Death is the only peace we ever truly find. The 3rd team had the most dangerous task. Juan and Minho had to retrieve the 7th spear from a location that should have been impossible to reach. The spear was on a research station orbiting a black hole. Scientists had been studying the event horizon, trying to understand how reality warped near such massive gravity. The station had gone dark 3 months ago. Everyone assumed it was destroyed, but Juan's visions showed the truth. The station still existed, caught in the time dilation effect of the black hole. To anyone outside, only hours had passed on the station, even though months had gone by in normal space. They approached carefully in a small shuttle. The black hole dominated the view, a sphere of absolute darkness surrounded by a disk of matter being torn apart. The station hung at the edge of destruction, held in place by automated thrusters. "This is insane," Minho said. "If we get any closer, we'll be trapped in the time dilation too." "The spear is inside," Juan said calmly. "We have to retrieve it." They docked with the station. Inside, they found crew members still going about their work, unaware that the outside universe had moved forward without them. The scientists were excited about their research, showing Minho equations and data about quantum effects near the event horizon. "Where is the artifact you found?" Juan asked a researcher. "In the main lab." "Strange thing. We pulled it from the accretion disk. No idea how it survived the heat and radiation. The materials are unlike anything we've seen." The seventh spear, Infinity's Edge, rested in a containment field. It looked like crystal and metal merged together, with edges that bent light around them. When Juan touched it, the weapon recognized him immediately. "We need to leave," Juan said. "This station is going to be destroyed." "What?" "No," the researchers protested. "We're on the verge of a breakthrough." "Your research is what triggered the recursion," Minho explained quickly. "You've been manipulating quantum fields near the event horizon. That's like sending up a flare that says erase us. We need to evacuate now." The researchers did not believe them at first. But then alarms started blaring. The station's sensors detected something impossible. The black hole was changing. Its event horizon was expanding, not naturally, but deliberately. The recursion was using the black hole as a tool to erase this location from reality. They ran for the shuttle. The station began to tear apart around them. Juan carried Infinity's Edge while helping Minho move faster. Behind them, researchers screamed as parts of the station simply stopped existing. The shuttle barely escaped. As they pulled away, they watched the entire station disappear into the black hole. Then the black hole itself began to shrink, erasing even the evidence that it had ever existed. Minho was injured. Debris had struck him during the escape, damaging his spine. He could not walk. But he clutched his notes about the recursion, determined to document everything for future generations. "It's worth it," he said through the pain. "If we succeed, others need to know what happened. They need to understand the temple was older than human civilization. Stone and metal merged together in ways that should not be possible." 7 alcoves surrounded a central platform where the beacon waited. It looked like a sphere of pure light suspended in air, humming with power that made reality itself vibrate. The 7 spear-bearers stood in a circle. Doyen held Eternal Witness. Ren gripped Blood Oath. Jiwan clutched Silent Storm. Juan carried Dawnbreaker. Velcris, in her borrowed human body, held Void Song. Kyung stood with Mercy's End, and Minho, barely able to stand despite his injuries, leaned on Infinity's Edge. Outside the temple, Admiral Tajin's forces had surrounded the area. Soldiers waited for orders. Ships hovered overhead, but no one dared enter the temple itself. The building radiated power that made their instruments scream warnings. "Are we really doing this?" Ren asked. Her voice was tired. In 10 years of carrying Blood Oath, she had seen too much death.
"Giving our lives based on what ancient aliens told us?"
"Do we have another choice?" Jiwan replied. Through the temple's transparent ceiling, they could see the sky. Stars were disappearing. Reality was being erased in real time. Juan approached the beacon. "I've studied architect technology my whole life. This is genuine. It will work. But once we activate it, there's no going back. What exactly happens when we die?" Kyung asked. For someone who had worshipped death, he looked nervous now that it was actually arriving. "The spears will absorb our life force," Juan explained. "Our consciousness will merge with all the bearers who came before us. We'll exist in a state between life and death, maintaining the shield that hides humanity from the recursion." "For 1,000 years?" Minho asked from where he sat. His injury had gotten worse. Blood stained his clothes. "For as long as it takes," Juan said simply. Doyen thought about Hana. She had given her life so he could survive, never knowing if he would complete the mission. Now he understood her sacrifice. She had passed the burden forward, trusting that eventually the right people would finish what she started. The beacon began to glow brighter. Its light filled the temple. Then it spoke, not in words but directly into their minds. "Welcome, bearers. You have done well to come this far. But before you sacrifice yourselves, you must understand the complete truth. The voice belonged to the architects. Or rather, to what remained of them. Images flooded the bearers' consciousness. They saw the architect's civilization at its peak, spanning galaxies, manipulating reality itself. They saw the architect's war against the recursion, a war that lasted millions of years and killed trillions. We lost, the architect voice continued. We could not defeat the recursion. It adapted to every weapon we created. So we did the only thing left. We hid ourselves between dimensions, existing but not existing, alive but not alive. And we created weapons for younger species, hoping they could survive where we had failed. But survival has a cost. When you activate this beacon, you will call us back into reality. We will use your life force to create a shield around human space. The recursion will not perceive humanity for 1,000 years. But during that time, you must evolve beyond the limitations that trigger the recursion. How? Doyen demanded. You said we can't use quantum technology. We can't manipulate reality. What can we do? You must become something the recursion does not recognize as a threat. You must change your species fundamentally. No more quantum engines. No more artificial intelligence that approaches true consciousness. No more experiments with time or dimensional travel. Velcris's borrowed body trembled. My species tried to fight. We thought our hive consciousness made us superior. We were wrong. Every weapon we created just made the recursion target us more aggressively. Humanity has one advantage, the architect voice said. You are adaptable. You can survive by changing yourselves instead of changing reality. But it will be difficult. Many will resist giving up advanced technology. Wars may be fought over this decision. What happens after 1,000 years? Jiwan asked. By then humanity must have evolved enough to exist peacefully in the universe. You must become a species that does not threaten the fabric of existence. If you succeed, the recursion will ignore you forever. If you fail, it will return and finish its work. Nari's voice came over the communication system from outside. Doyun, Admiral Tajan is demanding to speak with you. He says he knows what you're planning and he won't allow it. The Admiral's face appeared on the small screens the bearers carried. His expression was desperate. You're condemning humanity to 1,000 years of primitive existence. We'll lose everything we've built. We'll be trapped in our small corner of space while other species advance beyond us. The other species are dead, Doyen said bluntly. Or they will be soon. The recursion doesn't just target humans. It's erasing every civilization that reached our level. We're not being punished. We're being saved. By giving up, Tajan shouted. By surrendering our potential. By surviving, Doyen corrected. Sometimes survival means knowing when to stop, when to be humble, when to accept limitations. The Admiral's face twisted with anger and frustration. But before he could respond, the sky above Earth began to change. The recursion was manifesting. Space itself tore open like paper being ripped. Through the tears, they could see nothing. Not darkness, not light. Just absence. The complete lack of existence. It's here, Juan said. We're out of time. The 7 bearers looked at each other. No one wanted to die. Even Kyung, who had preached about embracing the end, looked scared. They were all so young. Doyen was only 29. Jiwan was 26. Ren had survived so much only to die now. Minho had so many discoveries he wanted to make. Juan had ruins he wanted to explore. But they had made their choice weeks ago when they accepted the spears. Who goes first? Ren asked. It doesn't matter, Juan said. We all go together. They positioned themselves around the beacon, each bearer standing in one of the 7 alcoves. The spears began to resonate, creating a harmony that grew louder and louder. Jiwan was the first to act. She drove Silent Storm into her own chest. The spear did not pierce her physically. Instead, it absorbed her life force directly. Her body glowed with blue light. She smiled once, then became transparent, her consciousness merging with the weapon. For everyone I couldn't save, she whispered as she faded. Juan followed, pressing Dawnbreaker against his heart. Golden light surrounded him. For the knowledge that must be preserved. Kyung was next. Mercy's End accepted him gently. I was wrong about death being peace, but I was right about it being necessary. White light consumed him. Velcris stepped forward. My species failed. Let humans succeed where we could not. Void Song pulled her apart into shadow and starlight. Ren hesitated. Her hands shook. I don't want to die. I still have so much to do. You've done enough, Doyen said gently. You survived 10 years carrying this burden alone. You can rest now. Ren laughed bitterly. Rest, that's what I've wanted for so long. She drove blood oath through herself. Red light erupted. For all those I failed to save. I'm sorry, Mino could barely stand. His injury had progressed. He was dying anyway. At least my death has meaning, he said. He leaned his full weight on infinity's edge. The spear accepted him, and crystalline light spread through his body. Document everything. Let future generations know the price we paid. Now only Doyen remained. He looked at Eternal Witness in his hands. Hana's presence in his mind had been quiet throughout this whole process. But now she spoke clearly. I'm here, she said. I've always been here. And when you join us, we'll all be together. Every bearer who came before. Every sacrifice that was made. You won't be alone. Doyen thought about his life. He had been nobody special. An engineer who fixed water pumps on a colony world. He had never wanted to be a hero. Never wanted this responsibility. But he had been chosen anyway. And he had done his best. For humanity, he said simply. For a chance to survive. He drove Eternal Witness into his own chest. Pain and ecstasy merged into one sensation. His body dissolved into pure light. But his consciousness remained, expanding to fill the temple, merging with the other 6 bearers, connecting with thousands of warriors who had carried these weapons across 10,000 years. He could feel Hana's presence, strong and warm. Ji-Won was there too, and Ren and Huan and all the others. They were together now, unified in purpose. The beacon exploded with light that could be seen from orbit. The 7 spears rose into the air, spinning around each other, creating a pattern that hurt to look at directly. Then they vanished, spreading outward, creating an invisible shield that covered all human-controlled space. On Earth and every human colony, quantum fold drives simply stopped working. The technology that had attracted the recursion became inactive. Ships drifted in space, unable to jump. People panicked at first, not understanding what had happened. But the recursion stopped. The tears in reality closed. The erasure ceased. Humanity still existed. Admiral Taejin stood in the temple, staring at 7 bodies that looked like statues made of light. The bearers appeared frozen in their final moments, translucent and eternal. He could not understand whether they were dead or alive or something in between. What did they do? He asked Nari, who had entered after the light faded.